Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike. This is Floating in Dreams, which is my hobby YouTube channel where I like to talk about all things fashion and makeup. And in August you're going to get a lot of makeup related videos because I'm doing eyeshadow palette extravaganza over here. But in case you do follow me, then you may know that I also like to do at least a few eyeshadow palette related videos every single month. And one series that I have been doing for the entire year is that I pick all the palettes that I have from a certain brand and that I go over them with you, that I swatch them for you, so some live swatching and all that. So I've done several brands so far. I've done Too Faced, Huda Beauty, JUVIA'S Place. There's a couple. I can make sure to link them all in the description box, so if you would like to see more, then you can do that. I think the last one I did was Melt. So I've got lots of these videos already up, and today I thought we could talk about Kaleidos because I have gathered quite the Kaleidos family up to this point. This is everything I have. As you can see, if you are familiar with what Kaleidos offers and has offered in their line, there are a few palettes that I don't have. Namely the Deep Sea Luster, which was their first palette. At that time I wasn't aware of the brand that much yet. I think they got on my radar around that time, but I wasn't really interested in the brand until they started releasing these little Futurism palettes, of which I own the entire collection. Then last year they came out with the Escape Pod, which was like the first palette in this sort of style. That to me didn't really have a color story that appealed to me, so I skipped out on that one. And the most recent release, which was the Flower Punk, I skipped up on because I felt it had a lot of similar shades to some of the palettes that I already have lying here at the top, combined with this one. So I felt that it wasn't unique enough. I will talk a little bit more about that actually in Thursday's video, because then I will be talking about some palettes that have come out recently that I decided not to buy. And why. The Flower Punk is going to be mentioned there. Also, if you'd like to see full reviews of these 5 palettes, so the first 5 Futurisms, then please stay tuned over on my blog. I will be reviewing all 5 of them tomorrow over on my blog, and then you can also again see pictures of swatches and looks that I did with these palettes, because that's how I like to run my social media content, you could say. I keep my blog for reviews, and that's where you can always see everything in one place. So very often if I talk about something and you want to know, you can always use the search bar either on my blog, which is linked down below at all times, or you can use the search bar here on my channel, and then you can always see whether I've already created any content with it. But yeah, let's just get to these Kaleidos palettes, because there's a few here, and I think we're gonna start with the Futurism palettes first. So here we have the 7 Futurism palettes that have come out. Not all of these are available anymore. I know for sure that the 4, the VR Neons, is no longer available. That was limited edition apparently, and I believe the 1 is also becoming harder to find. So I do think that if you don't own any of these palettes yet and you're interested in Kaleidos, then maybe hold out for some of their newer releases. Maybe get the Flower Punk, because it can give you similar shades as to what I have going on in 7 different palettes, and then you would have just 1 palette. So for me, the Flower Punk is a bit superfluous because I already have this going on. However, since some of these palettes are a bit harder to get, I do understand why someone who is now starting to look into Kaleidos may actually be interested in the Flower Punk. So I'm just going to talk you through each one by one. So this is the Kaleidos Futurism 1 Sci-Fi Green. The packaging of these is stunning. It nicely reflects some of the shades that you get inside of these palettes, which I love. And it just looks really, really stunning. Very artistic. And then the palette just opens like this. It's got a magnetic closure. And then it's like a little book. You get a mirror at the bottom. They all come with shade names, but I never really know how to, like, should I put it in like this or like this? I always forget, but yeah, I still have those. And then this is the color story of the Sci-Fi Green. It's not as green as I'd hoped. A lot of people have bought this and recommended it as a, whoop, we're out of focus. So a lot of people have recommended this eyeshadow palette as a alternative to the Melt Cosmetics Gemini. And you do get some of the shades that are similar, but these 2 shimmers are not as green as some of the green shimmers that you get in the Gemini. So that really lovely green shimmer you get in there isn't the same, and I felt that these 2 were perhaps a little bit too similar to really make a difference. So I wish one of these was either a bit lighter or maybe this one a bit darker. You do get a really stunning black. So let me swatch these for you. So there you have it. Those are the 6 shades from the Futurism Sci-Fi Green, the first one they did. I really like this matte, but as you can see here, these 2 mattes don't swatch the best. And I feel that where Kaleidos really does a really good job is in their shimmers more so than their mattes. There are a couple of mattes that are stunning, like this black over here, but some of the mattes are a bit patchy, a bit sheer, and they take a little bit more building up to get them to full opacity. I personally don't mind that because I love a buildable formula, but if that's not you, then these may not be quite right for you. However, the shimmers, as you will see in a minute, are really incredible. But do you just see that? Yes, this is more green, but I feel that this, like, they're still very similar, and these 2 as well, which is why this one just wasn't my favorite. I definitely prefer some of the other ones that we still have coming up. Now, the number 2 is the Cyber Bronze, and this is possibly my least favorite. It does really have very stunning packaging, and there are 2 shades in the palette that I love, which are the red and silver shimmer that you get over here. Those are lovely, but the rest, it's warm tone browns, and I'm not a huge fan of warm tones. We all know that. So this to me was just a bit basic and not that unique, but these 2 shades really take it to the next level and amp it up. However, if you already own quite a few neutrals, then I think you will have these shades in your collection already, and it's not going to be necessary to go out of your way to get this. But let me show you what this looks like. So there you have it, the 6 shades from the Cyber Bronze. I wasn't lying when I said the silver and the red are my favorites. So this bronzy shade is quite interesting because it does have a bit of pink running through it almost, so it does go with it really nicely. And then you just get 3 warm tone browns, which are lovely. But for instance, I feel that this shade is very similar to the shade you already get in the Sci-Fi Green. So for me, the Cyber Bronze just wasn't all that unique, and that's why this one it's a good quality palette. It's lovely, but if I hadn't gotten the first 5 palettes as a bundle, this is one I would definitely have skipped out on. Let's talk favorites. I think that these Futurism 3 Astro Pink is one of a lot of people's favorites, actually. This palette is stunning. It has a lovely sort of green or green-blue and like pink sort of design to it. It's very pretty. And also the inside reflects that, because inside you don't get as much of a pink as the name might suggest, I have to say, even though these 2 neutral browns have that sort of pinky undertone to it. They're pink tone beige, as you could say. This shimmer is a lavender icy shade that is life. This one I feel is a bit and then here we get a lovely teal that is lovely. It's a stunning shade. You'll see it in a minute when I swatch it. And then you have this black shimmer, which again I could have done without. So even though this is called the Astro Pink, it's not that pink. So don't be fooled by the name. Don't think you get a pink palette. You get a plum palette with a pop of lavender. That's what I would call this. It's more plum leaning, if anything else. So let me show you these in the swatches. And there you have the 6 shades from the Astro Pink. You can just see this teal shade. It's like purple blue with a shift. It's a really nice duochrome. That lavender shade, it's so bright on camera that it looks silver, but trust me, it does have a bit of purple running through it. These 2 again look very similar when you swatch them. That's my only gripe with this palette. But out of the initial 5 that I bought, the Astro Pink is definitely one of my favorites. This is definitely a very unique color story. You don't see this every single day. You can do something really basic and neutral with this, or you can glam it up if you'd so wish to. So I feel that this also is one of the more versatile 6 pans from Kaleidos. And then we have the discontinued Futurism 4 VR Neon. And this is when they started to do a slightly different packaging. These 3 are the original, and then this is definitely like you get that edging along the sides here that none of the other palettes have. And this also has a slightly different design to it. So again, we have that slip. And then this is what that palette looks like. It's not neon, it's brights for sure. And the only reason why I really keep this palette around is mainly for those 2 shimmers, because as you will see when I swatch them, they are outstanding shimmers. The mattes in this, since they are so bright, are a little bit patchy, a little bit chalky. They feel quite dry as well. I find that with a lot of Kaleidos mattes actually, that they feel a little bit drier than other mattes that I've used, but doesn't make them bad shadows for sure. Like, they are lovely, lovely shadows. It's just something that you do need to be aware of when you buy these. So let me show you these in a swatch. And there you have the VR neons, and do you just see that especially the yellow and the green are just a little bit sheer, they're just not as vibrant. The orange on the other hand is stellar, that reddish shade is okay, but I think you can see it, like, do you just see that it starts to become a little bit patchy when you try to blend it? That's the issue that I've had with a lot of Kaleidos mattes, but that pink, oh my word, it's so lovely. And also that really interesting gold shade. It is like an orangey popsicle kind of shade, and it goes really well with some of these warmer tones that you get in this palette. So I really like these shades, but these two shimmers is what I keep it around for. Even if you were to still be able to buy it, I wouldn't go out of your way to just buy a palette like this for these kind of shimmers, because I think you can find AV brands that do singles with these kind of shades. Perhaps not exactly the same, but I wouldn't go out of your way to get it, you could say. Now, one that I'm very, very curious whether they still do it or not is the Futurism 5 Electro Turquoise. I really hope they still do it, because if I were to recommend just one Kaleidos palette that you try, it's the Electro Turquoise. This is my favorite. It's unique, it's very different from anything else out there. Odin's Eye now does a palette that has a similar color story to this, but then in a larger palette in that Saga of Freya collection it came out. But I already own this, so I know I don't need that, because when it comes to turquoises with a pop of orange, I've got it right here. It's got a lovely matte teal. This aqua shade is lovely. This shade is lovely. You get a really interesting shimmer here. This matte is stunning. This lovely, lovely brown shade is great for deepening things up. And you might think, what am I going to do with that orange? But I used it in the crease when I did a look with this for the first time, and it worked really well. So with this, I feel you get something really interesting and unique that's not so out there that you no longer know what to do with it. But it definitely takes a little bit of playtime perhaps, but yeah, this is a lovely one. If it's still available and you want to buy just one Kaleidos palette, make it this one. Right, so there we have the Electro Turquoise. I really like this shimmer. It's a bit sheer, but it's great as an inner corner highlight. You get some good mattes, and just to show you that you can build up the mattes and make them less patchy, I did go in twice for that teal shade there, and you can see that it does build up quite well, this shimmer. Woo! It's so, so pretty. You can also layer this over the brown or over that turquoisey shade or the teal to make it, like, to give it more dimension, you could say. So you can definitely play around with these shimmers as well as toppers. And as you can see, that orange, it looks really pretty when you diffuse it into the crease with a bit of the brown, and it makes for a really good neutral, actually. So this has a neutral look and a vibrant teal look, and you know how I feel about teal. That's one of my favorite shades, so that's one of my favorites for sure. And then last year, they decided to release two more. They came out with the Futurism 6 Lunar Lavender. This is a really pretty color story. Again, the packaging reflects the color story quite nicely. And here you can already see a bit of that design that you see on the flower punk as well. So they're definitely tying everything together. And this is a cool toned color story with lavender and lilacs. And for some people, some of these shades didn't show up very well. And I think it may be because they either are too deep or are perhaps too warm toned for the palette. I'm quite pale myself and I had absolutely no issues. So if you have a fair skin tone, then and you have a cool to neutral undertone, then I think this is perhaps the best one for you to try the brand, because these shades will show up on you if you are light enough for sure. At least I had no issues with it. It's not my favorite though, because I feel that it's very purple leaning, and I wish I would have gotten perhaps just another cool toned neutral. I still want Kaleidos to do an actual cool toned neutral palette. And this is cool toned, but it's also quite colorful. So, and you'll see why I say that in a minute. But these shimmers. So there you have the Lunar Lavender, yes. So as you can see, it's got, again, two really stunning shimmers here. You do get 4 mattes. And for me, these two lavender, like, lilac-y shades play off each other really well. The browns go with it really well as well. And here again, you can see that the deeper shade is perhaps a little bit patchy. You can sheer it out and build it up for sure, make it look a bit better. And I really enjoy this mauve-y matte that you get in here. Again, a palette you can do an all neutral look with or an all colorful look, depending on how you put the shades together. So it is a lovely one, but I wish Kaleidos would do a cool tone neutral color story. Here's why. Because they have done a neutral palette that is a bit more warm tone leaning, and that would be the Sashimi City. And I actually prefer this one over the Lunar Lavender because I felt it was a little bit more versatile. So you can tell from the packaging, this is probably going to be corally peach, and it does, but it's more the undertone, for instance, of this and this shade that you get the peachiness. Everything else is very neutral, but it's browns, you know, it's browns. But they are warm tones, so I want Kaleidos to do a palette like this, but then to do it with cool tones. That's my dream. If they do that, it might beat everything else that I just talked about. So yeah, this is a lovely palette, and it's surprisingly versatile. So here's what Sashimi City looks like, and do you just see the green flip on that shimmer? Oh, it's so lovely. And this is also like a gold to peachy pink duochrome, and then you get some lovely like peachy kind of mid-tones, and you get some nice deeper shades to deepen things up. Again, do I need both? I feel they're perhaps a little bit too similar. In a 6-pan color story, I feel those things shouldn't happen. But yeah, this is a great neutral palette if you want something nice, curated, and that's a bit more unique, and it's more warm toned leaning. Last but not least, the Club Nebula collab that they did with Angelica Nukvist, and I knew the minute I saw this color story that I wanted to own it, because this isn't just right up Angelica's vibe, but this is also what I want. I've just used my Menagerie Wheel song to block the mirror for you. So this color story is just, it's life. You can no longer buy this. It's out of stock. They're not restocking it. So I'm terribly sorry I'm showing you a discontinued palette again. But you get sort of like greens and teals running into navies with a pop of like an aqua shade. It's a really, like this, the minute I saw that row, I was like, I need this in my life. Then you get some neutrals, which are plummy, mauve-y leaning. This shade Astro is the shade that kind of ties the entire palette together for me. And then you get some warm tones at the bottom. So this is a stunning palette. Really stunning. Let me swatch these for you. Okay, so I swatched the red in a bit of an awkward spot, but here we get the warm tones, and then we've got those teals, and then we have those plummy shades. Do you just see that all of these shimmers are quite reflective, especially those first three? They're very duochrome, and this one as well. It's a very nice warm tone. This shade as well, that's this one right here, Celestial. You can do a neutral look with this. You can do more colorful looks with this. It's got some grungy jewel tones. It's got warmth. It's got cool tones. It's got something vibrant. In short, this is a palette that can just do it all, and that's why I ended up featuring it in a video where I was like, yes, if I could keep only 10 eyeshadow palettes in my entire collection, this one would make the cut. Because it is so versatile, you can do so many things with it. This shade looks really light, but I think it's just because it has a bit of a different undertone, but this was really lovely, again, in an eye look, just to blend things out or in the crease. I really appreciate these two mattes here. It's got enough depth and definition to make it work for me, for sure, but it also has enough like lighter tones to make it work on my fair skin tone too. Loads of great shimmers. I wish there was perhaps one or two more. I'm more of a shimmer person than a matte person, I have to say. So I would have liked one or two more shimmers, but other than that, this palette is nearly perfect. So there you have it, all of my Kaleidos eyeshadow palettes and what they have to offer and how I feel about each one. I definitely hope that this was useful to you, that if you were looking into Kaleidos, that you now know a little bit what they have to offer and what you would like to buy from the brand, if that was what you were looking for. Like I said in my intro, I will be doing a blog post tomorrow with the first 5, including more swatches. You can see perhaps a bit better in close-ups and also some looks that I did with these. So that's coming your way tomorrow. And of course, I'm doing loads of other videos this month in my eyeshadow palette extravaganza. So I really hope you would like to stay tuned for more, and I look forward to seeing my next video. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.